Hey y'all, just getting ready to release this episode, and I felt like kind of weird about releasing it without acknowledging what's actually happening in the world right now with this coronavirus stuff. It's really got me in a weird space, and I'm not really sure how to feel. I'm not really sure what to do or what to advise people to do. All I can say is be safe. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your families. This is going to be this is a difficult time for us financially and for those of us who have health issues and have fallen into that vulnerable sector of people that whose lives are in genuine danger over this. And like coming together while staying apart is so complicated at this moment in time. I feel like art does have a place. I've always secretly imagined what place art would have in a world where our system started to break down, and how design would be used as a tool to communicate with the public and share information, and how art can be used to make people feel better and feel good in times when we're down. But I never really wished it would happen, and now it kind of feels like we're getting to that place. And I don't want to be negative, and I don't want to pretend like this isn't a big deal either. I'm trying to be as even keeled about it as possible and be as informed as possible, be as realistic, and be as safe as possible. I don't know if pretending everything is all good and just continuing on as life is normal is necessarily the plan, but I do want to work on at least staying positive and upbeat so that I don't dig myself into a negative hole, and I don't necessarily want to put that negative energy out there in the world either. I've been relatively quiet on social media since all of this broke out because of that reason, because a lot of my thoughts have been not as positive. So what I just plan to do, for me anyway, is I want to continue to create consistently. Like, a lot of my plans that I have had on the go have been canceled as a result of this, like live event stuff, product releases, client jobs got canceled. A lot of personal things are in flux because of all of this, and I have family members that I'm concerned about. But ultimately, what I would like to do is just to try to make the best out of the situation that I can by just continuing on, whatever that is, and being okay with whatever changes have come and will come. And this is actually a good exercise to show that you just never know. You never know what the universe is going to bring to us from week to week, from day to day. So the episode that you're about to listen to was recorded shortly before any of this happened. So it just goes to show how quickly things can turn. But I just want to keep continuing to interact with creatives and have conversations. And as time goes on, I'm sure it'll come up in the conversation and how this illness has impacted what they do. But for now, for the next couple episodes, you won't hear it. And I hope that's okay with you. And I hope that you can still get something out of all of this. Peace. What up, artists? My name is Dwayne Jones. I'm the creative director and founder of a lifestyle brand called Art Pays Me. This is the Art Pays Me podcast, and I'm passionate about finding ways that people like you and me can make a living for ourselves off of our creativity, and maybe we can make the world a better place at the same time. let's get into it. All right, so welcome to Art Pays Me. Today we have Josie of Salt and Summit. How are you, Josie?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I am good. A little bit on the cold recovery side.
Uh-oh.
Kind of feel a little better. but yeah, I'm good overall. So Josie, what do you do at Salt and Summit?
So I'm a jeweler. I work mostly with sterling silver. I'm a metalsmith, so I make sterling jewelry. I use a lot of turquoise currently. Yeah, I'm a jeweler.
Okay. I was going to ask you about that. So I really like your work, first of
Thank
all.
you.
And I notice you use a lot of turquoise. I have an affinity towards turquoise because I'm from Bermuda, where I'm from, and the water has this turquoise tinge to it on really sunny days. So it really reminded me of home. So it's like, what's the significance of the turquoise?
It's just so when I was a kid, my grandmother gave me one of her old Native American rings, and Native Americans, they use a lot of turquoise, and it was just the first piece of jewelry that I felt really connected to. Obviously, it was sentimental in value because she gave it to me as well, but I don't know. It's something that really speaks to my soul. And just have a hard time not using it. I've used other stones in the past, and just always gravitated back toward turquoise. So, yeah.
Huh. Interesting. So where are you actually based?
I'm in Colorado. My family and I just moved here from San Diego. So we've been here in Colorado for about 6 months now.
Okay.
Yep. In
All right.
Denver.
Denver.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes. So, from my understanding, you kind of have like, there's also sort of that mountain culture where you can
Mm-hmm.
ski it, but there's also, is it like hot as well?
So we came in like the dead of winter. I think that it gets pretty hot in the summers. I haven't really experienced all the seasons yet, but I'm hoping because I'm pretty charged by the sun. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. And you grew up in California?
My dad was in the military, so I actually moved a lot growing up. I was born in Germany, and my dad met my mother when I was young, and we moved to the States when I was about 3, and have been, gosh, I don't know. We moved so much. I mean, we moved every 1 to 3 years. So I was in a lot of different schools, like 3 or 4 different high schools. And so I don't know. It's kind of funny because I always figured when I was out of like the family life, like, and out of like moving because I had to, like, I would want to settle down and just like stop, you know. But I get the itch, and luckily my husband is the same way. So we we're a little bit nomadic at heart. We move around a lot.
Yeah, I was doing some research and I saw that you spent some time traveling, living out of the back of a truck.
Yeah. So before we had kids, so River, my son is 2.5, and my daughter is almost 10 months. And before they were born, so my husband and I have a pretty cool story. We were both kind of coming out of rocky relationships, and we met each other 2 weeks before we each were moving somewhere else, and we happened to be in the same apartment complex. So he was going to Northern California, and I was actually going to Virginia to take classes for metalsmithing, and that's when I got started doing that. I guess that was about 6 years ago, and then I finished the school, and we were doing the whole long distance thing, and then we both packed up our stuff and we met up in California, and just hit the road. We traveled all up and down California and Oregon coastline. And, yeah, it was awesome. We, we had everything like dialed in pretty well. And we just picked, we would wake up and we'd point to a place on the map and we would just drive and, stay for a few days and then go somewhere else. And we did that for about 5 months. So yeah.
Wow. I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, you get to know someone real quick.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, our family was like, well, if this doesn't break you, then you guys are probably meant for each other. So,
Right. So, like, in terms of your work, so you said you met him when you were in school.
We met in San Diego. We were living in the same apartment complex. So,
okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. All right. So, like, in terms of like when you started the business side of it, how did that end up coming into play?
When I first started, I just like I really sat down and I tried to think of like what is my story? Like what is it that is true to me but will also resonate with, potential customers and future buyers and things like that. And for me, like that kept coming up because to me, like that was like the most free I'd felt in my life. Like it was the most connected to myself I'd felt. It was the most like sure of myself I felt in terms of like, I mean, I guess that's sort of where the business was birthed, and not physically because I did not create on the road, but it was where I felt like I could get quiet enough to like really understand my purpose in a larger sense, I guess.
Right.
Um, and just yeah, I don't know. It just, I mean, obviously, like nature is a big connector for a lot of people. It's definitely a driving force, like behind my work. Sometimes tangibly, like in an actual design, it reflects nature, but sometimes it's just a feeling. Sometimes it's just remembering how I felt at a certain point in my life, and more specifically, how I felt when I was able to be outside and, get quiet with myself. And to me, that time is just a constant reminder for me to have something to go back to. It's so easy to get wrapped up in the day to day and forget why you're doing something, and so I guess at the end of the day, that's my why. Like, um, that's the why.
Got you. So, like, I get from this that your jewelry making is a very spiritual process for you.
Yeah, it definitely has become that. I don't think it started that way. And I think so. I took a break after I was pregnant with my second, and my son was, I don't know, 8 months. They're pretty close in age, but so I took a small break, and then when I came back after I'd had my son, it was I don't know. I think a lot of women go through like, some kind of transformation when they've, had a kid and, went through the process of being pregnant. And I definitely felt like more empowered, in myself. And then I guess in turn, also in my process when I came back to it. Um,
Interesting.
and yeah, it's really cool. And, that's not like as prevalent right now. Cause it's like you have kids and then, you're just living the reality, right? It's like, you just want some freaking sleep and here's your applesauce. Like, okay. Like, so like, that's not as much of a connection, but I will say that creating for me is definitely a way for me to feel connected to, um, a larger purpose and like a larger connection to something that isn't just for me, but for others. And also, um, a time where I can be really honest with myself and, just kind of let things flow. So it's definitely where I feel most supported, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that. I didn't go through pregnancy, but I know when my kids were born, there was a certain switch that clicked in me, and it's weird. There's a level of focus I had, and a level of certain things don't matter anymore.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool how that works. It's like, all of a sudden, like, I feel like whatever it is you were doing or, and then are still doing when they were born, it's like this, like the level of intention, like, is intensified. It's like, okay, like I am doing this and I'm doing this because I want to, but also because like they deserve to see, what, creating something from ground up looks like, creating something from the heart looks like, like doing the hard, right thing for you, And so that's definitely a driver for me.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that, like, do you think that that's sort of like this creative adventure sort of lifestyle that you're living? Is this something you think you would want to instill in your children?
I think I want to, what's the word? Demonstrate it. Not necessarily instill. If it happens to be something that they wish to follow, like hell yeah, go for it. Obviously it's not for everyone, but I do think that there's this like taboo around. I mean, you say it like your whole thing. Art pays me, debunking the myth that you can't do that. So absolutely, I think that there needs to be more of an emphasis on the possibility, of being able to do something with your creative skills if you want to. And the world is your oyster. It's limitless. I mean, what you put out there, you'll most likely get back, if you put in the work. And so, yeah, for sure. I want them to know that that's available. If they want to be a lawyer, that's cool too, but
yeah. No, for sure. Did you find that, did you always have that in you as a child? Like, were you just like, the possibilities there, I'm going for it?
No. I was lost most of my adult, young adult life in terms of that. I always knew that I was creative. I always knew that I had a unique perspective, and that I was pretty good, like at, things like whether it be writing or, photography or even painting. Like I was never great at any of those things, but I always had a really natural gift for them. But I never followed anything, artistic. I mean, my dad was in the military. My mom, stayed home. Like, it wasn't that those things weren't supported. It's just that they weren't really like prevalent in my life growing up.
Yeah.
And so it was definitely something I came to later. And that was after a lot of trial and error. I mean, I did a lot of crap that I hated, that didn't serve me, that, I knew wasn't for me, but I was sort of like trying to fulfill this, this is what you do, like you go to college, you get such and such job and okay, now I'm good. Does it have benefits? Oh, even better. It's like that whole mentality. And like, so no, I definitely had to come to a point in myself where, I had to just say, like, just kind of surrender and go, this may not work, but this is something that is nagging at me, and it needs my attention. Obviously, I think if something keeps coming up, then you got to look at it, and So that's kind of what it was for me. And then at that point it was just, and then I just dove in. I just kind of figured it out. I didn't finish college. I don't have a business degree. I don't have an art degree. I don't even really have a metalsmithing degree. I took one intro class and then just kind of figured it out on my own, YouTube and books and a lot of trial and error. And, I actually just got back from a year off. I took a whole year off. I just relaunched my website 3 days ago and a new collection of jewelry. And that was scary. I was like, man, like no one's going to care anymore, but I think it just starts with like really believing in your vision, and if you're solid in the foundation of what you know to be true, it's going to resonate. It may not resonate with everyone, but it's not supposed to, it's the people that care are your people, and so I've been really humbled by just that experience of, coming back and just seeing this like overflow of support and people supporting me again. So that's been super exciting.
Great. You have a great aesthetic, even like your Instagram account and your website, all of it seems very like consciously, like it's very consistently branded. And
thank you.
It's great for someone who claims to, well, you don't claim you didn't get this education, but you've said you found it in other ways and it shows. So congratulations to you on that.
Thank you so much. Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, it really does come off really well put together. Do you focus solely on like independent direct to consumer stuff when it comes to your jewelry, or are you looking at wholesale or consignment or anything like that as well?
I used to be kind of all over the place. I've definitely become a bit more focused in my vision, and that is just direct to consumer online. I think, and I'm doing, once a month collection releases. So, I'll pump out a bunch of stuff during the month, and then, have a set date where it's all available. I find that with the kids, that's a lot easier for me because, before I was doing, customs and, taking orders, like, having pieces that were like made to order and people could get them in their size and things like that. And that's where I found, to be like the most overwhelmed with the kids because, it was like, oh, well, like I got to breastfeed now, so I can't, or like whatever it was. But now it's like, okay, like I can allot myself a certain amount of time and be really dedicated to what I'm doing. And then leave it if I have to and come back to it when I can, and create on my own schedule so that, not only is the quality compromised, but the creative aspect, the flow aspect isn't being rushed or feeling, you know what I mean? So yeah, that seems to be working the best right now.
No, I can relate to that for sure too. The idea, like the customization thing, and then they become clients more so than customers. And it's very tricky to navigate that, especially like when you have children, there are just non-negotiables. Time. So, it's, and someone's like, can you do this like thing right now? It's like, well, I just can't.
Totally. Yeah, I actually wrote a quick little post on that yesterday, just expressing, I just don't like customs. I, in the rare occasion, like maybe like for a family member, someone who's like, I know I can, take my time on it or something, like maybe then, but, no, I just, don't enjoy it.
Do you find, is that similar too in terms of, like, I know for me anyway, I can speak from my experience. Sometimes people will say, I think this would be great on a t-shirt. You should do this.
Yep.
And I'm sure you must get that for jewelry.
Totally.
Yeah.
All the time. I have, I had a family member recently, say, oh, well, you need to, you need to make stuff that's has more bling, or, so that I can, advertise to my friends. And it's like, yeah, well, I think that all comes back to, if you're creating from the heart, and not only are you going to get the best outcome, like in your piece, in your painting, in your piece of jewelry, whatever it is you're doing, but it's also going to resonate with the right customer. And, you're at the end of the day, you're not selling to everyone. You're not supposed to, you're selling to the people who believe in what you're doing. And I think when it gets dangerous when you start going outside of what you believe in you're doing, you know what I mean? Like, then you start to, I don't know how to describe it. I think you understand what I'm saying, though. It's
Yeah, I think you dilute your brand. At least that's
totally
my perspective on it.
Yeah.
It's like, and there are times when I've listened and I didn't really feel 100%, and the thing didn't sell, and then I had even more reason to be frustrated because it's like I listened and it always, to me, pays off to stay as true to yourself and your brand as you possibly can.
For sure. I think diluting the brand is that's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah. So have you had, I've been asking people about the creative influence thing, but I kind of hate the question, to be honest.
Yeah.
Really,
yeah.
Influence comes from everywhere.
Totally.
But like, yours clearly seems to come from nature and from within somewhere.
I'm trying to figure. I'm like always trying to figure that out. It's so weird. Something is like coming up for me now, like that my dad told me when I was a kid, and it wasn't even about art. It was like, I think I was writing a history paper or something, and I had an issue. He was a history major, and he was a great writer, so he always helped me with that stuff. But I remember something coming up in one of these conversations when I didn't know what to do, and he was like, "All information is borrowed." And that has stuck with me my entire life. And I think that is also true for art. It's like, in one form or another, whether the thing that inspired you is vastly different than what the outcome of the thing you made is, it started from someone else's idea, and then those ideas morph and change and evolve into new ideas. And so I guess I definitely do believe that, like, we all pull from this collective.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe in original thought as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's like, even if you don't know where something came from, like, there have been so many times where I've sat down and, didn't look at anything else, didn't see anything that really inspired me for that piece. And then, I'll make it, I'll look at it. And then like a week later, I'll see something similar and I'm like, oh shit, and it's like, so did I see that at some point, or was I pulling from like this collective idea bank? You know what I mean?
Right.
It's interesting.
It is very interesting. And this whole, so I sort of dealt with not a similar thing, but like this idea of this shared idea bank, where I've come up with the same idea that other people have had, and other people have come up with the same idea that I've had.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so weird how sometimes they circulate in the universe at the same time. And you have to sort of navigate what that is.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Yeah, because you don't want to see, it's like, well, I'm not ripping anyone off and this person isn't ripping me off. But it's like, Yeah, that's interesting that you say circulating at the same time. That's a really cool way to put it, because it's like, I don't know. I think in some way, like if you're thinking about something in Canada and I'm thinking about, the same thing in Denver, I mean, there's no reason, even if we didn't know each other, there's no reason why that information couldn't be accessed, like, and I think especially when you are a creative person, like, most creative people I know, tend to be like pretty intuitive and like, pretty like focused when it comes to stuff like that. Like maybe we are speaking to each other on some subconscious level. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It is baffling, and in the age of Google, it's become more noticeable to me, because like I've come up with this thing I think is brilliant, and someone's already done it or someone's currently doing it, and it's like, dang. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so that's, and then it's like, well, should we coexist? Can we coexist? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's so weird.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing to talk about, though. I think it's a nice way to like, oh, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's like because you want to essentially like be within like a space where you can work with people, alongside them. You can work with them. You can, be supported by others who are doing the same thing, as opposed to living in this space of like, like judgment or fear, or they're doing better than me, or, oh, I can't do it because they've already done it. It's like, no, like we're all doing what we love, we're all doing something because we believe in it. And, I think that the more community that can be created around topics like this for everyone, for artists, for, I mean, whatever it is you do, like, and that's why I love your podcast so much, because you are bringing awareness to that, and you are bringing people together, and you're creating this atmosphere that that allows people to, continue what they're doing, like in the support of others, and that's, I think, what it's all about.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
For sure.
Okay. On that note, is there any piece of advice, if you haven't said it already, that you would give another artist?
Damn. Just do it, like Nike. Golly. Yeah, I just have faith in yourself. There's going to be so many times where you feel like you're not doing the right thing. There's going to be so many times you feel like you're failing. But I think at the end of the day, it comes down to being authentic. And everyone talks about like their brand story, and what is that? It's you. It's you. And if you can honestly portray yourself to the world, then it'll come through your art. It'll come through your business. And I think that's where you see the most success, because it's you. So yeah, be you. Just do it like that.
I love it. Love it. And so you've got the new collection that just released. So people can find that on your website. You want to shout that out?
Yep. It's shopsaltandsummit.com. A lot of pieces have left, but there are several left, and I will be making a new collection next month if anyone missed out on what they wanted to get.
All right, great. Hey, you know what? Actually wanted to ask you, what is the significance of the name?
Salt and Summit. I was looking for a way to bring both aspects of nature, which I love the most, which are the ocean and the mountains. So salt reflecting the sea, and summit reflecting the mountains. So that the space in between those two. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Josie, thank you for doing Art Pays Me.
You are so welcome. I had a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for having me.
All right. Sweet.
Thank you so much for listening to the Art Pays Me podcast. Thank you to Langy Beats for the theme music. If you got anything out of this show, please rate, review, and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening on. The more you do this, the more reach the podcast gets, and the more artists I can help learn to make a living at what they love. If you want to know more about what I do, hit me up at artpaysme.com or at artpaysme on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest. See y'all next time.